Hello everyone, welcome to the Canadian Edge. Hope you're enjoying the videos. Please leave a like, hit the subscribe, and leave a comment. Tell us what you think. We're looking at another knife today. Gonna review a knife from Tac Force. And I hadn't had any exposure to Tac Force knives before and saw this one. Actually saw it online. Thought it was a bigger knife. It's actually quite a small knife, and was quite surprised when it showed up and was as small as it was. That'll teach me to read a little bit better. But this is the Tac Force TF-848. And as I say, I'm not all that familiar with Tac Force. So I thought I would just check these out and see what it had to offer. So it does have a blade length of 2.75 inches, and closed it is 3.5 inches. So you're looking at 6.25 inches of knife. And so it is a smaller knife, to be sure. It has a 440C titanium coated blade, and the weight on this is 3.4 ounces. It is a heavy little knife. I was really surprised. Boy, the handle on this, it feels like a lot of weight. If you took the blade off, you'd have just this heavy handle, and it's surprising how much weight is in the handle. So considering the size of it, I would have expected a little lighter handle, but oh well. So the handle is, again, they say it's titanium coated stainless steel. I can see a lot of marks on it. I don't know if they'll show up on the camera or not. Not really. If I get the lighting quite right, you can see there are a couple marks in there that just from being in the pocket and on the table and stuff like that. So they would mark up fairly quickly. The pocket clip on this, it is a right hand tip down carry. So sorry, it is not reversible. For lefties, if you wanted to carry this, you would have to carry it with the right hand carry on it. It does have a flipper tab and also thumb studs, which are not all that great when you're trying to, because it is a smaller knife, it's hard to get at, but they do work. And it just takes positioning your hand in a proper way so that you don't lose the knife as well. Now, this knife, it does sit fairly well. There's no real blade play, but you can see that the blade does not line up, and I didn't bother taking the time to move this over, as this will not hit my EDC carry rounds. So this is just a knife. I was more curious because I hadn't seen any of the Tac Force knives before. I wanted to see what they had to offer. It is also a frame lock knife, and you can see that there. And it does have a lanyard hole as well. They didn't put any jimping on. Oh, sorry, didn't show you the lanyard hole. So it does have the lanyard for those that like the lanyard, and they put a bevel down here so that it should sit fairly well. They could have maybe done a little more skeletonizing of the liners and that, as there isn't really any skeletonizing of the liners, and it would have probably helped with the weight, although it's not a huge deal, I guess. You could throw this at somebody and do a lot of damage. Just closed, it would hurt because of the weight of this thing. But again, this was $17 for this. It does have jimping on the frame or on the handle. Nothing on the blade. It does have a little bit of a thumb ramp there. And so I thought it was not a bad looking knife, and that was the biggest reason I thought I would check it out. But as I thought, it would be a little bit bigger. So surprise, surprise, it wasn't quite what I thought it would be. So in terms of size, when you compare it to the Civivi Elementum, you can see the Elementum is got some definite size on it, as does the Ontario Rat 2, Ontario Knife Company, Rat 2. And we'll grab the SOG and the Spyderco Tenacious. And you can see it is quite a small knife. Which, if you're looking for a small knife, it might not be a bad thing. Definitely not a bad thing if you're looking for a small knife. So as I mentioned before, I did think the aesthetics on it were not bad. I didn't mind the look of it. It does have the swedge here at the end, which makes the blade look a little more interesting, and it has a nice look to it. I like the coloring, the gray silvery coloring of it, and that. So the aesthetics on it are pretty decent. It ergonomic wise, it's not too bad. It's a 3-finger knife, mind you. I have medium-sized hands, so if you're a person with a large hand, it would be 2.5-finger knife, but it definitely is not a big knife. So if you're a person with the big hands, you might not want to bother with a knife this way size, unless you're looking for a smaller knife. It does open well. I forgot to mention that it is assisted opening as well, so it does snap open, and no problem there with the snap. And I just noticed that if I push, it does have a little up and down movement to the blade. I think I said there was no up and down, but there is slight up and down to the blade. No side to side though, but slight up and down. Let's take a look at how sharp these bad boys are. So it does cut, but it cuts fairly smooth, but it does have a little hesitation there as it cuts, so might not hurt to just sharpen the blade up slightly, and we'll see how it does with the zip tie. It goes through that if you give it a little push. I didn't necessarily cut my rope here, so we'll see how it goes through the nylon cord fairly easy. And the fake paracord, how does it do with that? Yeah, it goes through that fairly easy as well. So wasn't prepared. I didn't cut my rope like I normally do beforehand, but it goes through it, so it has a decent edge on it. And 440 steel, it won't necessarily hold an edge for a long time, but they are very easy to sharpen. And so yeah, not a bad looking little knife. Ergonomics, not too bad on it. It opens well. It is, however, it is a small knife. and heavy, small and heavy, which I can't understand, given the size of it, why it would need to weigh so much, but it does. And there's no real texturing on here, so they do have a bit of jimping on the bottom, a little bit of jimping on the top, so it could end up slipping, especially in a bigger hand, because you're already struggling for purchase on this thing. It could be a knife that you find slips in the hand fairly easy. If you're a person with a smaller hand, it would definitely fit a little bit better. And the frame lock is a little stiff on it. Not horrible, but it is a little stiff, and that would wear in with use. But it is definitely something you do notice. To close the knife, you have to give a good push. So this is not a knife that I would carry as an EDC. This would probably be something I'd throw in the glove compartment or in the toolbox. I think it would be a durable knife, but just too small for any real purposes. If you were camping or that, it might be a good knife for, if you've got a kid, you want to expose them to knives. It might be a good knife, beginner knife for somebody. But for me, this would be the utility drawer, glove compartment, toolbox type knife. Not an EDC knife. But that is just my take on it. So check them out for yourself. Tac Force TF-848. Thank you for joining me on this review. I'll be doing another review in a couple days. Until then, you stay safe and stay sharp.